TheSmartLocal.com.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of AskTSL. Today is a special one because we have a professional with us. It is a topic that we are not equipped to do because it's about sexual health. You know, sometimes when we are in the heat of the moment, we are not thinking about the long-term health effects on ourselves and our partners as well. So that's why we have a doctor here.
And there's a lot of doubts and misconceptions that people have, and a lot of the times they are too paiseh to ask a real doctor, so they end up just Googling, which can open up a lot of fake news. So today we're going to debunk all the misconceptions once and for all. And with that, let's welcome Dr. Eugenia Tay! Yay!
Hello, hi, thanks for having me. I'm a family physician with a focus in women's health and sexual health. In my daily work life, I see patients from all walks of life, of all ages, for a variety of medical reasons, such as contraception counseling, sexually transmitted illnesses, vaccinations, cancer screening, menstrual disorders, and so on.
So the first question is it possible to get pregnant if there is no insertion, but the private areas are close together?
Yeah, so it is possible to get pregnant even if there's no insertion, but the chances are very slim. It can happen sometimes if the male genitals is very near to the female genitals, or if the male ejaculates very near to the female genital region. However, like I mentioned, the chances are very slim, simply because sperms can't live out of the body for a very long time.
I read this Reddit thread, right? This dude got this girl pregnant in a hot tub. Is it true? You think it's true?
I would say that it's probably very unlikely. Yeah, because the hot tub environment, the temperature.
That's why they say you shouldn't put laptop on the... if not, you're cooking your...
Okay, next question is it true that having unprotected sex before your period is relatively safe? Let me just stop it right there. Anything unprotected is not safe. What the heck?
Yeah.
Okay, doctor, what is your chime in?
I mean, if a lady is not ready to fall pregnant, she's not at that phase of her life where she wants to fall pregnant, protection should always be used. This is also because sometimes you may not be able to predict when exactly you're going to ovulate, and sperms can actually live in the body. It doesn't live that long, but it can be up to 5 to 6 days.
They can Airbnb inside.
There's so long! Oh my god! Oh, this bad news! It's not safe for people to use the calculation or tracking method.
Usually I recommend that's only for people who, they are at the phase of their life where they can afford to fall pregnant. Like, I mean, if it happens, they're okay to accept it.
How high are chances of condoms breaking during sexual activity? If it does, do you need to go to a doctor immediately?
Generally, it's a very reliable form of contraception. It's not foolproof. It can slip off, it can break, tear. In those sort of situations, the most important thing to do would be to seek medical attention as soon as possible, because very often we will need to give some form of emergency contraception.
So, the next question is, can you still get STDs or STIs even if you're fully protected? So honestly, I don't know what is the difference between STI or STD.
STI stands for sexually transmitted infections, whereas STD stands for sexually transmitted diseases. But essentially, there are sexually transmitted infections that don't end up becoming diseases. One example is HPV, human papillomavirus, where the person may have the virus, but eventually after some time the body can clear it off on its own, and it actually does not progress and lead to a disease. HPV is one of those that can be transmitted even when condoms are being used, so even if when there's protection being used.
Oh, so it's like the around.
Yeah, so because what happens is it can be transmitted through skin-to-skin genital contact.
What if it's genital and mouth?
Yes.
Oh god!
Like, I just wear the whole condom on my whole body.
So on the topic of HPV, what exactly is HPV?
It is a virus that is actually very common among sexually active individuals. As long as they have been sexually active, at some point in their lives, they would be infected with HPV.
No, what? That sounds so bad!
So you said sexually active, right? So if you're a virgin, will you have?
Okay, HPV can also be spread through skin-to-skin genital contact. So even if there's no penetration, a person can still have the HPV.
If somebody is infected with HPV, what's the impact on their health?
For most people, HPV may not cause any issues or even any symptoms, visible symptoms. And very often it can go away on its own after some time, after some years. But for some individuals, it may actually lead to other serious medical problems. We're talking about things like cervical cancers for females, vaginal cancers, vulva cancers, and for both males and females, genital warts as well as even anal cancers.
So what are the things that we can do to prevent like HPV?
there is a HPV vaccination that for females, we should undergo our regular cervical cancer screenings. So the best time to take the vaccination is actually before starting sexual activity, because that would confer the most protection. In the event that subsequently you have partners that you come into contact with who are carrying the virus, then you would very likely be protected.
How common is HPV and when is it deadly?
So HPV is a common virus. So it can lead to some very serious medical problems. So we're talking about cancers. On the other hand, then it also can lead to things like genital warts, which are some growths at the genital areas. It can be raised or flat, or it can be big or small. Sometimes it even appears like a cauliflower shape.
Oh my god,
Never
can I
again.
eat cauliflower? So since HPV is like seemingly quite common, are there any like telltale signs that we have it? Is it like something visible?
So for some, there may not be any symptoms at all, and that's also why it's so easily spread. While others, sometimes they may have symptoms. So genital warts is one of those things that we may sometimes find. On the other hand, when it comes to things like cancers, sometimes there may not be symptoms in the early stages, and therefore it's very important for individuals to go for their regular screenings. There is something called Pap Smears, where we collect some cells from the cervix area and to look for any changes to the cells that has been caused by HPV. If these changes are not detected early, sometimes it can later lead to cancers.
For guys, don't have like a
Yeah.
swab or anything.
Unfortunately for males at this stage, there's no routine screening for HPV. Generally, Pap smears are not painful. They can be a little bit uncomfortable for the female, but it's a very quick procedure that is done in the doctor's office. It's a process where we use a small flexible brush to collect some cells and some samples from the cervix region.
Where is the cervix? Is it like high up?
So the cervix is at the base or at the neck of the uterus. So it's essentially the part that connects the vagina canal to the uterus.
If my boyfriend / partner and I are both monogamous, will we still get STDs?
The best practice actually is before entering a relationship or after you have ended the relationship to actually do your sexual health checks. The reason for this is because it's not uncommon for either individual to bring forward illnesses from previous relationships if they didn't get screened or checked after they ended the relationship, simply because some people may not have any symptoms.
Instead of emotional baggage, they also bring like sexual health baggage. They tapao the STDs,
Like
STIs.
there are Pokédex of STDs. Is there a way to prevent UTIs after sex? Like I read a lot of facts like always pee after, and also like when you feel like you are developing one, then you start spamming cranberry juice.
It's very important actually to pass urine after sexual activity. And we're talking about shortly after sexual activity, like within 15 minutes or so. Essentially, the bacteria that may have been introduced to that area during sexual activity would get flushed out. Along with that, there are other things that you can do to try and prevent yourself from having urinary infections. That would include things like, drinking a lot of water on a daily basis. For females, after going to the bathroom, always remember to wipe from the front, then to the back.
So it's not so much cranberry juice, but just drinking fluid so that you will pass urine.
Yes, to try and flush out, because infections tend to occur if bacteria is there and it's a stagnant environment. But coming to the topic of the cranberry juice or cranberry products, as far as I know, there aren't enough evidence to support that it actually truly works.
So the next question is, why is it important for men to be protected from HPV too?
There are many different strains of HPV. Some strains are known to be more likely to cause certain illnesses. And also for males, apart from protecting yourself from some of these problems that HPV causes, but also so that you can protect your partner as well.
Is there like a top tip for couples to start discussing about sexual history? Because some of them might be offended. They'll be like, "Wow, you think I'm not clean?" Yeah, so
It's best to have like a very open discussion with your partner. It's a fact that a lot of times people may not be aware that they may be carrying some form of illnesses. Sometimes it's easier to get yourself screened and tested first, and then after that, then you can encourage your partner to go and do the same.
Or you just two together, just like, let's go for
date
lunch.
idea.
It's a date idea.
Is the HPV vaccine like similar? Do people have to be scared that it will be painful?
Generally, it's just like any other injection. So it goes into your arm. There might be some aches for a few days.
In the best case scenario, people would be willing to open up about their sexual history and go get tested if need be. But what if someone encounters like someone being very defensive and saying like, "Oh, like I'm clean, if you don't trust me then that's your business, but I won't get tested."
There's this saying, pigs or it didn't happen. Obviously, right, if I was dating somebody who was not like truthful about a sexual history, like that girl be sus.
So what you should do is always try to use protection, and we're talking about some form of barrier protection. Sometimes you may even want to just not engage in sexual activity with this person.
Better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching this episode of AskTSL. Thank you MSD Pharma for making this video possible, and Dr. Eugenia for educating us about sexual health and HPV protection.
If you'd like to find out more about HPV as well as the necessary protection not only for yourself but for your loved ones, check out itsyourlife.sg.
I say again, it's not our life, it's your life.sg.
And your partner's life.
And as usual, if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, ring the notification bell, and watch all our other videos over there. Bye!